Hey guys, this is Miss Braun. We are going to be working on week 6, our last week of ESY summer camp, and we're going to be going on a lesson for Monday. There'll be 2 videos for Monday, and then for Tuesday there'll also be 2 videos for you to watch. So let's have an overview of the week first. Remember your mission. Along the way, you have been researching a marine animal of your choice. You have gathered notes, began to draft your report. Now you will create an informative presentation that will teach others about your marine animal and why preserving their home, the ocean, is important. Let's work together to educate everyone on why the ocean matters. Here are some weekly WOW facts. Hermit crabs do not grow their own shells. If a hermit crab finds a bigger empty shell, it will explore it to see if it fits. If it's too big, they will wait hours for more crabs to come along. Then they line up by size, biggest to smallest, waiting for the crab that is perfect fit for the new shell. Then they all exchange shells so everyone gets a new larger shell to grow into. So here's some photographs and a diagram of how the hermit crabs do that. Remember to keep adding vocabulary words to your glossary. And let's go ahead and start Monday. So for Monday, we're going to go ahead and read how the polar bear hunts first. So remember, this is on bookshelf. You can read any books about sea animals and other animals on bookshelf. This one is how the polar bear hunts. So go ahead and read along with me. Look at the snow. Look at the ice. It is cold here. Polar bears live here. Polar bears have to stay warm. Their fat keeps them warm. They have to stay fat so they can stay warm. Polar bears have to eat lots of food to stay fat. So let's look at this diagram. It shows us how when polar bear eats, it stores the fat underneath their skin. So here's their fur and their skin, and here's their muscles. So the fat they get to store in between that. Let's think, why would storing fat be important for a polar bear? Polar bears eat seals. Seals swim in the water. They can swim very fast. Polar bears can swim, but they can't swim as fast as seals can. This makes it hard for polar bears to catch seals in the water. So polar bears hunt for the seals in the ice. This polar bear is going to hunt for a seal on the ice. She will look for a hole in the ice. She could walk a long time before she finds one. The polar bear will use her nose to find a hole. When she finds the hole, she will sit and wait for the seal to show up. The seal swims under the ice. He has to come up for air. He will use the hole in the ice to come up for air. The seal puts his head up into the hole. He opens up his mouth to get air. The polar bear smells the seal's breath. She puts her paw into the hole. She grabs the seal out of the water. So remember, polar bears here would be the predator and the seal would be the prey. She pulls the seal onto the ice. She kills the seal with her claws and her teeth. Now she can eat. This is how a polar bear hunts seals. Polar bear anatomy. So the word anatomy must mean all about their body since I see a diagram about their body. Take a second to read all of these words with your parent or on your own so you know each part of the polar bear. Remember, you can pause the video at any time if you're working on something. All right, let's practice these words, but before we do, let's go back and think about the question I asked at the beginning. Why would polar bears need to store their fat? The answer is polar bears need to store their fat because sometimes they're not going to eat for days, or if they hibernate, they're not going to eat for a long time. So they store their fat so that their body has nutrition even if they don't eat for those days or weeks. All right, let's go back and practice these words. Repeat after me as I read these words. Saw, raw, paw, claw. It, hit, kit, sit. See, be, beep, keep, play, lay, say, stay. Now practice on your own with the rest of these words. Remember to pause the video. All right, so we just read how polar bears hunt. If you want to add a wow fact to your wow chart about something that you know about polar bears or you thought was interesting, I'm going to add one to a document. But remember, you can add one to your wow chart in your marine life book. So one wow fact might be, polar bears hunt seals. I didn't know that that was one of their prey. So I'm going to write that on my wow chart. Go ahead and write one of your wow facts that you learned, or you can write mine if you wish. Remember to pause the video if you want. Now we're going to go read some pages from The Life Cycle of a Polar Bear. We're going to read pages 12, 15, 22, and then 24. Here is The Life Cycle of a Polar Bear. And we're going to start with page 12. So that's about newborn cubs. Remember to look for wow facts along the way, as well as we want to look for the words feasting and fast. So go ahead and take out your glossary at the end, or if you don't have room, remember you can always add it on a blank sheet on the back. We're looking for the vocabulary words feasting and fast. Newborn cubs. Newborn polar bear cubs weigh only about 1 pound, 0.5 kilograms each. Cubs cannot see or hear. Their eyes and ears are sealed shut. Their tiny bodies appear to be furless, but they have fine short hairs covering their skin. Depending on mom. Polar bears' cubs are totally helpless when they are born. Their mother must feed and protect them. The cubs nurse from their mother's body. For the first few weeks of their lives, the cubs do nothing but nurse and nestle close to their mother to keep them warm. The cubs, shown left, are nursing. So take a look at the photograph. This would be a mammal, a polar bear, getting milk from its mom. Time to explore. When the cubs are about 4 weeks old, their ears open and they can hear. About 1 week later, their eyes open and they can see. By the time the cubs are 2 months old, they begin exploring their dens. The cubs also began to wrestle and play together. Hello world. By the time the cubs are about 3 months old, they have gained over 20 pounds and have grown thick fur. They are now ready to leave their den. The cubs follow their mother out into the chilly air. It is time for them to learn about life in the Arctic. These polar bear cubs are ready to explore the world outside their den. Remember, for our text features, this is called a caption, this is called a photograph, and these are called headings. Let's move on to page 15. Practice fighting and leaving mom. Polar bear cubs born in the same litter are great playmates. They wrestle, play fight, and chase one another. Their mother allows them to practice fighting this way. Someday the cubs will need to know how to defend themselves, so the time spent wrestling with siblings is a good preparation. Leaving mom. Most polar bears are weaned when they are 2.5 months old. Although they are not fully grown, the young polar bears have already learned how to hunt. Many polar bears leave their mothers at this age. The bears set out of their own to find food. In places where food is hard to find, however, they may stay with their mothers for up to 2 more years. Let's go to page 22, keep reading. On the hunt. Polar bears spend the winter hunting for food on pack ice. They are carnivores, or animals that eat other food. Polar bears hunt and eat animals such as walruses, narwhals, beluga whales, and many types of seals. Oh, I can make that connection because we just read about how they eat seals. They also eat smaller animals such as seabirds and their eggs. Most polar bears use a method of hunting called still hunting. To still hunt, polar bear sits silently on a pack of ice for hours and waits for prey to appear at a breathing hole. A breathing hole is an opening in the ice. It is used by mammals that live in the water when they need to breathe air. When the prey comes up for air, the waiting polar bear grabs it. Oh, so that's how he grabbed that seal when we were reading the other story. Polar bears are excellent hunters. The polar bear shown above is still hunting a breathing hole. Silent stalkers. A polar bear sometimes walks or swims long distances in search for food. It may also stalk or silently follow its prey. Despite its large size, a polar bear can creep up on other animals because of its white fur blends in with the ice and snow. A polar bear also swims under the water to get close to prey sitting on ice. Then it leaps out of the water in a surprise attack. Eat and run. As soon as a polar bear finds its prey, it attacks. One blow from a polar bear's powerful paw is enough to kill almost all animals. The polar bear quickly eats his prey and runs fast. These parts have important nutrients which a polar bear needs to stay healthy. The polar bear does not save what is eaten. Other animals finish the leftovers. A polar bear may swim over 62 miles, 100 kilometers, to find food. Page 24. Feasting and fasting. Oh, these were our vocabulary words, so let's make sure we read this page and then decide what it means. Polar bears eat many animals during autumn, winter, and early spring. The bears eat the fat from the bodies of their prey. Eating a lot of fat is good for polar bears. The fatty foods add blubber to their bodies. Blubber helps keep polar bears warm, and in the summer, when polar bears are trapped on land, they may eat plant food such as grass and berries. So that's why they need to store that fat in their bodies, like we read in the other book. Polar bears also eat carrion. Carrion is the flesh of dead animals. Summer fast. In summer, when pack ice begins to melt, polar bears cannot always find enough prey. Most polar bears fast or stop eating during this time. Oh, so that's our vocabulary word, to fast. So when they're fasting, that's a multiple meaning word. It doesn't mean they're running fast. It means most polar bears fast or stop eating. So fast actually means to stop eating. That's a multiple meaning word that can mean more than one thing. Everyone go ahead and get out your glossary and add the word fast to it and write the definition to stop eating. Don't forget to pause the video to do this. Sometimes the bodies of polar bears use energy so slowly that the polar bear does not need to eat again for several months. So feasting is the opposite. Feasting is when they eat a lot. So let's add that word to our glossary as well. Go ahead and pause the video and add that word. I also noticed that these two words are antonyms, meaning that they're opposite. They have opposite meanings. Let's also go ahead and add another wow fact to our chart about polar bears since we read so much about them. One thing that I learned about polar bears that I didn't know is that they go a long time without eating, and that's why they need to store their fat. But I didn't know that polar bears do that during the summer, so I'm going to write that as my wow fact. Polar bears fast during the summer. They fast during the summer because that's when they can't find food. Go ahead and write this wow fact or another wow fact on your chart. Don't forget to watch the next video.